Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and this afternoon I'm coming to you from one of the local parks. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's kind of a warm day. It's up into the mid-80s. So, just trying to get my head together to try to shoot a video. And my topic today, I think it's going to be a Bigfoot video, and my topic today is the first time I ever had an aha moment. And now, I've used that term before, and I've probably explained it before, but for those of you that maybe didn't watch any of my previous videos, those of us that go look for the Sasquatch folks, we use the term aha moment when we have something happen that we suddenly realize couldn't possibly be anything else. So obviously that could be a sighting, but most of the time it's usually something a little less than that. And there are people that have spent a lot of time out there looking for our forest friends, and they've never really had their aha moment. And when it happens, and it can be life-changing, and as mine was. And so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about it, and because that started me on the long road that got to me where I'm at now regarding this subject. There's some construction equipment in the background. I just heard a backup alarm. I didn't think they would be making enough noise to bother the filming, but we'll have to see. But anyway, I started getting real interested in this subject back in 2011, and I've talked about this before. And so I knew at some point in time I needed to get out in the woods. I needed to start doing some field research, and I needed to do it at night. And so after I did my, read a bunch of stuff and watched YouTube videos and all this kind of stuff, and I kind of thought I might know just a little bit about it, and it turns out what I know now, I didn't know anything then. But basically, I picked a spot, and the spot I picked it for a number of reasons. Number one is I thought it had the proper habitat. That everything, and remember back then, I was looking for some kind of undiscovered ape. I wasn't looking for people. And so I found an area where I thought there was, we were told that there was 4 things they wanted. Number one is they wanted a good source of water, clean water. They don't like muddy stock tanks. They wanted a wide variety of food sources. They wanted very dense forest where they could hide. And they wanted places where we don't bug them too much. And so I found an area that I thought that met all those requirements. And beyond that, it had a history. There had been some activity there reported. So I went up to this area, and I made 3 day trips up there, and I explored the area pretty thoroughly. I wanted to understand the lay of the land. I wanted to understand where the drainages went, and where the canyons were, and where the heaviest tree cover was, and where the meadows were, and so forth, and the roads, of course. And so I made 3 trips up there during the day, and I finally decided that I was ready to go up there at night. So I got a friend of mine who actually used to work for me, and he's pretty low maintenance in the woods, and so I kind of twisted his arm a little bit to get him to go with me so I wouldn't be up there by myself. And so we got up that area kind of in the middle of the afternoon, and so we spent a couple hours checking out all the other roads to make sure there were no other campers anywhere close to where we were going to be. And we ended up on a logging road off of a logging road, and the spot we were on a ridge, and the ridge dipped down, so it's kind of like a little saddle. And what it looked to me like is that if there was any kind of remember, I was still looking for animals. If there was any kind of animal that wanted to get from the canyon on one side to the canyon on the other side, this would be the logical place for them to cross. And I thought, okay, this might be a good spot just to set up. And I didn't know anything about doing vocals. I didn't know anything about what to do if I saw one or heard one or something. All I knew was I wanted to sit and listen. And I knew that if there was evidence there, that was probably how I was going to determine that it was evidence, was going to hear something. So anyway, we set up camp, And I had a Jeep at that time, and I could sleep in the back of my Jeep. And my friend actually had a Jeep Grand Cherokee that he could sleep in the back of, but he set up a tent. And so we set out our nice, comfortable chairs, and we decided we were just going to sit and we were just going to listen and see if anything happened. And so that's what we did. And the sun set and it started getting dark, and well, just about the time about that it got good and dark. And this would have been in the month of August of 2012, I believe it was, if I remember correctly. And anyway, about 9:30, it was plenty dark, and I don't remember what the moon was doing at the time, but I do remember that there wasn't much light. It was dark, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden, very, very close to us was a very loud wood knock sound. Well, I've come to understand that they're not really wood knocks. I didn't know that at the time, and I know that the Sasquatch people don't walk around carrying clubs, and I also know that most of the downwood and most of the trees in that area, if you haul off and smack a tree, all it does is thud. So you got to get the right combination of a knocking stick and the right combination of a tree in order to get a good solid wood knock. So they make that noise somehow. We're not 100% sure how they do that, but they mimic a lot of sounds, and that's just one of them, and they can be incredibly loud. And we've heard it many times. But anyway, we were sitting there, like I say, about 9:30, dark as almost dark as the inside of a coal mine, maybe not quite. And we got that wood knock, and it was close. It couldn't have been, good golly, I don't know that it was 100 yards away. It was really loud, and it was really close. And that was my aha moment. I knew at that point that there was absolutely nothing else out there that would make that kind of sound. And I absolutely knew at that point that they were real, that there was something to it. Didn't know what it was. Looking back on it now, what probably happened, it was probably accompanied by mind speak, and they probably did that whack, and then they probably told me, hey, we're real. But I didn't understand that at the time, and I didn't understand. I wasn't receptive to that kind of stuff and didn't understand it. Didn't even know it was possible at that time. So that probably was what was going on. But can't verify that. But I do know that hearing that wood knock made a very, very distinct impression on me, and it basically started me down the path that I'm still on today. And 12 years later, and I'm still on that same path. And I've learned a lot. My whole perception of what they are has changed, and I've told you about that in other videos. But that same night, about 20 minutes later, we had a pretty good vocalization. And that was one of those kind of vocalizations that, you can go down the whole checklist of what it wasn't, and there's not a whole lot left that it could have been. And so, can I say that it was definitely a Sasquatch made the vocalization? No, I can't, because I didn't see him do it. But I can say that there's a whole lot of things that don't make noises like that. So that was my first aha moment. I've had I don't even know how many of them since then. And of course, 6 years down the road, I started learning about what they were versus what they're not. And we ended up opening up lines of communication and got to the point where we are today. And I say we because I've gotten involved with other folks that are doing the same thing I'm doing, and we're all getting the same kind of results. So that's my little story, how it happened. And it was before I had my first solid sighting. Now I will say that somewhere along that first 6 years, I was walking down a little road in the dark, and I had something big, a huge dark mass that took off running right next to me. And I had no idea what it was. All I knew was it didn't make any noise, and it was there, and then it was gone. And I know now that they can do that. But I didn't count that as a sighting, and I still don't, because I didn't know what it was. But I was doing this for 6 years before I had my first actual sighting, and that one lasted for about 20 minutes, because I could see him, and I don't know that he knew I could see him. And so he kind of stood there and moved back and forth and turned side to side, and I finally started speaking to him. And when I started talking to him, then all of a sudden he left. And so He was, and we measured out later, it was 130 feet away, and he was lit. The area behind him was lit up by the moonlight. That's really a story for another time, but that was my first actual sighting. Now, to this day, I've had, as far as seeing the forest people in full solid form, I've had 6 sightings, and all of them have been at night. I cannot tell you what facial features look like. I cannot tell you what color the hair was, because they've all been in the dark. I have yet to experience a good solid sighting in daylight. Now, we've seen them in cloaked form more times than we can count, and that's very common. But as far as actually seeing them in full solid form, I've only seen them 6 times, and all 6 times were at night. Closest one was about maybe 40 feet away, and the farthest one was probably 130 to 150 feet away, and if it had been any further than that, you wouldn't be able to see it because it was too dark. But that was in the moonlight. So, in case you're wondering, that's where my first aha moment came from. I've helped facilitate a lot of other people's aha moments. We've had quite a number of folks that came out with us that changed their life, rocked their world, as we like to say. But that's what happened to me, and that's when it happened. And so, as I always tell you, take care of each other, love each other. Got a little traffic going by here. And I'll be back with another one here pretty quick on another topic. But for right now, my old truck's over there. I think it might be I'm by the ball field. It might be the ball people starting to come in. And so for right now, I'm just going to tell you, until I talk to you again, peace out.